All right, good evening, everyone. This is our regular council meeting of May 14th, 2025. I will now call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and acknowledge that all members of council are present. Before I begin, I'll share the township land acknowledgement. The township of Adjala-Tosorontio is situated on the lands within Treaty 18, being the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, including the Ojibwe, the Dawa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge Indigenous peoples as stewards of the land, and we honor their resilience as well as their culture and of our shared respect for the lands, plants, animals, and waterways which sustains us all. We recognize the injustices against Indigenous peoples and are mindful that the decisions of government impact our shared land and all the inhabitants. We commit to reconciliation as a journey, foster Indigenous cultural awareness and educational opportunities, establish respectful and healthy relations with Indigenous peoples, continue to steward the land and its inhabitants, and to cultivate an inclusive community for all. This evening, there was no closed session, so we are in open session at 6:30. As a reminder, everyone, including council, that please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. And item 4, which is the additions. There is one addition that we would like to make this evening. So I'll start with this, and if there's any others from council. So the OPP would like to make a deputation this evening with regards to a Special Olympics torch run to be held on June 12th, and they would like to use our grounds and public room if at all possible. So they would be coming in to make a deputation this evening, and if there's no objections, I could get a mover to that. So I have a move by Deputy Mayor that a deputation from the Nottawasaga OPP detachment regarding law enforcement Special Olympics torch run 2025 be added to the May 14th, 2025 regular council agenda under section 9 deputations as item 9.2. So that's moved by Deputy Mayor Locke. Seconder, please. And I've got moved by seconded by Councillor Simpson. Are there any questions with regards to this item for addition? Seeing none, I do require a 2/3 majority vote for this addition. All those in favor? And that is carried. Are there any other additions for the council agenda this evening? All right, seeing none, the recommendation for the adoption of the agenda is therefore that the agenda for the regular council meeting held on Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, as amended, be adopted. Any questions? Mover, please. Councillor Simpson, seconded by Councillor Cox. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item 6 is disclosure of pecuniary interests. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest at this time? Seeing none, if you do find yourself in that situation at a later time, please declare then. And we're on to item 7, which is adoption of the minutes. And we have the minutes from April 9th, 2025. Are there any questions with regards to those minutes? And seeing none, the recommendation is that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Mover, please. I have Deputy Mayor Locks. Seconder, please. Councillor Borzos. And all those in favor of the minutes? And that is carried. So that takes us to presentations. We have no presentations this evening. And then we are on to deputations. So we do have the 2 now this evening. So the first deputation is from Keon Watson, and the founder of the board member of Reach and Serve Foundation Incorporated regarding the school backpack drive. So sir, if you'd like to come to the podium. Welcome, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Mayor Anderson, member of council, good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Keon Watson, and I am accompanied by Albino Carlucci in my back. He's a member of our board member also. And we're here today on behalf of Reach and Serve Foundation to respectfully request for your approval of waiving the fee for our upcoming school backpack drive, which will be held on August 23rd, 2025 of this year. And regarding this is an annual backpack drive that we have yearly. And the initiative focused on providing children from low-income families in Tottenham, Alliston, Beaton, and surrounding areas with full stock backpack to ensure the successful start to the school year. Each backpack will contain essential educational materials, including notebook, pencils, binders, calculators, all these things that the kids need that they can function in school properly. But this drive is more than just a school supply. It's about fostering a community. On the day of the event, we offer family-friendly activities such as bounce about castles, water slide, and complimentary food. And this is just our way of giving back to the community and also bringing the community together. Will be a day filled with joy, support, and a shared sense of purpose. Our goal this year is to distribute 100 backpacks, and with your support allowing us to use the building or waiving the fee, this goal will become a reality. The facility will provide the accessibility central and welcoming space to reflect the spirit of initiative, unity, compassion, and progress. In closing, I urge you to consider our request. This will be more than just waiving the fee, but it will be an investment in our youth and family in our township. Together, we can help to ensure that every child has the tools they need to succeed and that no one in our community will feel left behind. Thank you again for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any question that you may have.
Great, thank you very much for the deputation. I just have, before I go to members of council, I just have one question. How do you fund the backpacks and supplies? Like, is that a fundraising initiative that you undertake, or how is donations? Sure. Just can you confirm the mic's on there? Sorry.
So we have sponsorship letters that we send to all the businesses in Alliston, Tottenham, Beaton, and they got back to us, and they are the one who sponsor all these backpacks and everything we need to have this host this event.
Okay, perfect. Yes. It's nice to see the local economy involved in it.
Yes,
for sure. Thank you. Any other questions from council? So I've got Councillor Borzos and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Watson, thank you very much. Great initiative. I'm sure there's a lot of kids who can take advantage of this type of situation, especially nowadays. You mentioned Beaton, Tottenham, Alliston.
Yes.
We are in Adjala-Tosorontio. Is this program open to our kids as well, or is it strictly to New Tech kids?
So it's open to the township of Adjala. Also, it's also open to kids in Tottenham and also kids in Beaton, but most of all to Alliston, to this area.
And so how will you advertise or promote this event, or is there a flyer? Is there a social media? Or?
Yes, so it would be through a flyer and social media. That's where we would advertise all this event. And plus, because we have other families because this is just more than backpack. This is the organization that we have low-income households. So we have lots of family on our roster already in this area that we give food or stuff that they may need. So they have kids that need these items.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cox.
Through the chair, I'd just like to personally thank you for all you do for these the underprivileged families. You know, it's a very noble thing. So thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council or questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation, and we will make a decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so council, there is a potential motion here drafted that the deputation from Reach and Serve Foundation Incorporated regarding school backpack drive be received, and that the rental fees be waived for Reach and Serve Foundation to use the municipal grounds, including the public room, outdoor gazebo, and sports fields on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025 for the purpose of a school backpack drive, and that the rental application form be completed and proof of insurance be provided to the township prior to the event. So that's a standard one we've used in past. Are there any questions to that resolution? Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I just have a question with staff. There's nothing going on with regards to those events, like it's not already booked?
Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Meadows. So staff did put a tentative hold on that date in the calendar when we did receive this request from the organization, so it is available for them.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a mover for that recommendation? I have a second, moved by Councillor Cox and seconded by Councillor Borzos. Any further questions or comments? And all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right, Mr. Daniels is not showing up from the OPP, so what oh, sorry. I expected you in the uniform actually this evening. I think the last time I seen you, I think it was at maybe at the Banting High School, actually. So welcome, thank you. And the floor is yours for information for the torch run.
All right, thank you very much, and I apologize for the late deputation. I was hoping that Inspector McClagan would have been here to do this, but here I am. So,
well, he has all the trust in you, so
that's right. Let's hopefully bring this home. So, for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm sure you've heard of the Special Olympics as a organization and what they do, and we probably have an understanding, but not everyone would know that there's an Ontario Law Enforcement Torch Run, which is the largest public awareness vehicle and grassroots fundraiser for Special Olympics. So this is an opportunity that we've had and that we've done. We started last year. We held our first torch run in this area. So I consider, Adjala-Tos, UTEC, and also ESSA as our detachment area. So that's sort of where we're representing. So last year it was held in New Tecumseh. We had a great turnout, and we had over 30 participants and raised over $2,100 for local athletes, meaning Simcoe County. So those athletes are from all over the area. So it could be Bradford, wherever. And basically the idea of the event is that money is raised and then half of it goes to the local Special Olympics athletes, and then the other half goes to the actual law enforcement torch run organization to fund other things like actual Special Olympics events, promotional stuff, and things like that. So those athletes were able to walk away with $1,100 last year, which was a great amount of money that could help with their training and so on. So this year we're proposing, and after learning a few things from last year, we'd like to make a few changes. And one of the things that we saw was this beautiful, depending on where I am now, track that you have outside, and also the facility, the community room, and access to washrooms are important. So what we're proposing and asking for is that the town of Adjala-Tos partner with us in this event, and that on June 12th, we're looking between the hours of 9 a.m. till approximately 1 p.m. being the latest. That's mostly for setup and takedown of anything that might need to be cleaned up. Step off for the run would actually be at 10, and it's more of a walk or a run around the track. So to avoid any road permits or any kind of disruptions to roads, and also making it a little more accessible for folks who may not be able to do an actual run, we would like this location for that reason. What we're asking is that the fees be waived for the rental of the community room and whatever else we would require for that. Advertising would be done social media through the OPP. We use our platform, and Torch Run has their own sort of platform that they would do any sort of other media releases and such.
All right,
That's it.
Perfect. I don't have any questions for you because I support it and it's a great initiative. So I do commend you for taking that on. I'm going to, before I just go to look at the resolution, and we've been out of order on this, but I'm just going to look to staff. Is this something that we could also advertise that we don't normally close our parks and walking track? And I know it's fairly popular in the morning hours. And I'm just thinking if we can kind of advertise, if council's supportive of this, that track kind of be not off limits, but that there's an event proceeding in the next couple of days on June 12th that we're making the public aware that there is an event going on. That's okay. So I'll go to questions from council. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, again, like before, is there anything booked, any events booked for that particular day, since this is a last minute ask?
Ms. Reid.
Your worship, through to Councillor Meadows. I did confirm prior to the meeting that the track and area is available during the day. The only event being held here is that evening, and that is for our official plan open house.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All right, seeing none. So there is a potential motion here as well, so that the deputation from Sergeant Jeremy Daniels of Nottawasaga OPP detachment regarding law enforcement Special Olympics Torch Run 2025 be received, and that the rental fees be waived for the Nottawasaga OPP to use the municipal grounds, including the public room, outdoor gazebo, sports fields, and walking track on Thursday, June 12th, 2025 for the purpose of Law Enforcement Special Olympics Torch Run 2025, and that the rental application form be completed and proof of insurance be provided to the township prior to the event. Any questions on that? And do I have a mover for that recommendation? I have Councillor Cox and a seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? That is carried. So the clerk's office will be in touch with you, Sergeant.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. All right, so that leads us on to item 9, which is public meetings. And for this evening, we have no public meetings. And that is on to now item 10, which is public comment. Members of the public may request their comments to be read by the clerk or present their comments orally. Only public comments related to an item on the agenda listed as staff reports, correspondence, or bylaws will be considered. Members of the public wishing to submit public comment can do so in writing to our clerk no later than 12 noon on the day of the meeting. And I'll first go to the public here. Are there any persons in attendance who would like to provide their comments? And if so, please raise your hand. And once called upon, proceed to the podium. Are there any persons wishing to speak on any items with regards to staff report, correspondence, or bylaws this evening? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, did we receive any public comments in writing?
Through you, Your Worship, we received no public comments in writing.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that leads us on to item 12, which is upcoming events and announcements. So I do have a few announcements to start, and then I'll go to the CAO for a verbal update as well. So just wanted to acknowledge a couple of events here. On May 28th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., Glencairn residents are invited to a fun hands-on event to help shape the future of the Glencairn Park. So this is being held at the park off of Second Concession on May 28th from 4 to 7. And families can come and attend and design their ideal park using Adjala-Tosorontio bucks. So we're going to give you some dollars to provide some opportunities on what you'd like to see in the park itself for some of the equipment ideas. Your feedback, of course, will help guide future park improvements. And this will be the first in a series of outreach events. So we encourage everyone to visit adjtos.ca for more information or watch for our posts on social media. The second announcement is with regards to our official plan. We are holding an open house event on Thursday, June the 12th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. here at the Township office. We'll be in the public room. There will be additional information published online, so please watch for that. But we encourage anyone who's been following along on the official plan process, which has been ongoing for about 12 years, to continue to follow along with us and share some of your ideas. The information will be posted on the website as to the official plan draft in the schedules. So there will be information online and you're able to provide comments. And I believe, if I read correctly in the correspondence item this evening, or the staff report rather, you will have up to 2 weeks after the event as well to provide comments into staff. Third event is the Everett Legion 75th anniversary. We had the presentation to council last meeting. This event is happening on June 21st, and we encourage everyone in the township to join the Everett Legion in celebrating its 75th anniversary. The events for that day include sunrise yoga, if you'd like to get up. I believe that's in the wee hours of around 5 something. So if you'd like to get up for yoga, pancake breakfast, an OPP bike rodeo, a scouting lunch, and international dancers. There is a dignitary event planned, a members only dinner at the Legion, but following that dinner, there will be an open dance that evening at the Legion. And again, for more information, we encourage everyone to contact the Everett Legion. The fourth item is Children's Mental Health Week, and it runs from May 5th to 11th. And as you can see with council this evening and the staff, we are wearing a green ribbon. This Children's Health Week is to raise awareness about mental health for children. And the color green symbolizes child and youth mental health, representing hope, growth, and transformation. And join us as we share Shine Green in support of New Path, a charitable organization offering free mental health services for children and youth in our community. And it also encourages support for their families and caregivers across Simcoe County. So for more information, we encourage you to visit newpath.ca. Next is National Public Works Week. It runs from May 18th to the 24th. And on behalf of council, I would like to extend our thanks to dedicated members of our Public Works team. Your hard work and commitment to maintaining the infrastructure and services that keep Adjala-Tosorontio running smoothly do not go unnoticed. From keeping our roads safe and clear in the winter and summer to ensuring our parks, facilities, and public spaces are well maintained, your efforts are essential to community. So Mr. Wilmotz, if you could please express our thanks to your entire team. Next is Paramedic Services Week. And the Deputy Mayor, and of course, we were involved yesterday with a very special presentation at the County of Simcoe for a paramedic for a day, which we do every year at the county. And it's always rewarding to see some child, I believe it's open to grades 5 and 6, who come in, and it's a very special moment amongst county council and for the student and the family. And I must say, the student yesterday was probably a better speaker than most of county council. So it was, she read her essay out to 32 members of county council without missing a beat. So very impressive. But we also want to thank our paramedic services across the county. In this year's theme is We Care for Everyone. And I would like to extend our thanks and gratitude to all the members of the paramedic services in the County of Simcoe for their vital public service and quality access to emergency care. Next one is Victoria Day long weekend, and I just want to acknowledge that Monday is a Victoria Day holiday, and our township office will be closed. That's Monday, May 19th. And on behalf of council, I wish everyone a safe and enjoyable Victoria Day weekend. I guess it's kind of the official start to summer. And the last item I have is with regards to Coffee with Council. We have scheduled a Coffee with Council event for June 3rd here at the township office in the public room, and that's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, we encourage everyone to come out and have a one-on-one chat with members of council. You can meet your councillor, propose any ideas and concerns that you might have in this very informal setting, rather than, in this kind of robust setting here of a council meeting. So we encourage you to come out and have a chat with us. With that, are there any other public announcements or events from council? All right, not seeing any, then I'll go over to the CIO for a verbal update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to build off of some training that was discussed with our bylaws last meeting with regard to noxious weeds. We have put some links up on our website, links to the county and the province, and also a form that you can fill out online if there is a concern within the township about noxious weeds. So if there is anybody who would just like to educate themselves about that, it's a very good spot on our website to go and take a look at. And if you come across any of those noxious weeds, it's easy to report. The second one is the Southwestern Integrated Fiber Technology, or SWIFT, because that's easier to say. Just wanted to point out it's for rural broadband across different parts of Southwest Ontario. It is now complete, and I will be sending out a link to members of council with regard to where they can, a link for their website. So just wanted to note that just for the public and for council that it is now complete. The next one is the wastewater annual report for New Horizon is now up on our website. And the next one, and I'm going to unfortunately steal Mr. Wilmot's thunder here with Public Works Week, but the maintenance gravel will be starting within the town on May 19th. And just to note that the street sweeping is complete. So again, thank you to the Public Works Group for all their hard work. There was a question on the council with respect to the Hockley water system in particular details. So just wanted to report that that we're going to be coming this summer with estimated logistics, costs, etc. So stay tuned for that. And actually the last one, I'm going to turn over to the acting chief to talk to us about the next gen system that Barry has with regard to some emergency software for an update for council on that. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect, thank you. Acting Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick update on Next Generation 911. So Barrie Fire Dispatch is the dispatch center that services Adjala-Tos. Barrie Fire and Emergency Services has completed the migration to Next Generation 911. So this takes us from an analog base to an IP-based system. It's not available to the public yet, but the transition's complete. The equipment has been installed and technology's there. The mandate from the federal government is March 2027, and this will allow for faster, more accurate location and callback information, increased reliability, real-time text and video directly to dispatch centers, and improved operability, security, and system resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, we've learned some of that at the county council as well. So it's a great system to see up and running. Again, anything that helps our first responders be well equipped for what's on scene is something very important to have. So appreciate that. Thank you, CO, for the update. And just going back to council, if there's any other comments or questions. Okay. All right, so we're on to the consent agenda. Or, excuse me. Are there any items that members of council would like to pull? I see several hands. All right, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Locks first.
Thank you, through the chair. Can we pull 13.5?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Anything else? Is that the only one? Okay. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, 13.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Meadows?
Yes, I'd like to pull 13.1.
Okay. And anyone else? All right, so the recommendation would be the consent agenda recommendations for 13.2, 13.3, and 13.6 be adopted as presented, and that staff be authorized to take all necessary actions. You have a mover for that recommendation. I have it moved by Councillor Simpson and seconded by Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right. Okay. So that leads us on to item 14, which is staff reports. And our first report is 14.1, which is IND 2025-13, placement of hot mix asphalt and shoulder gravel. Mr. Womans.
Excuse me, I've lost my voice today. The tender was sent out and it was for the job or the capital projects that were approved by council. The price that came back in, as you can see, was very competitive. And so hopefully that we can extend some of the jobs a little bit farther without changing the form of the contract.
Yep, thank you. Are there any questions to Mr. Womans? Councillor Simpson?
Through the chair, through the chair to Mr. Wilmans. When do we anticipate this will be completed by?
I think I have the closing date of the end of September.
End of September?
Yeah.
So throughout the summer and anticipate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And as soon as the contract's signed, then hopefully I can get a start date so they get it into their schedule and we'll know more. And again, it'll be put on the website. And so the residents will know what's going on.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions with regards to the item? All right, seeing none, do I have a mover for the recommendation? I have it moved by Councillor Cox and seconded by Councillor Simpson. That's staff report IND 2025-13 dated May 14, 2025 regarding placement of hot mix asphalt and shoulder gravel be received in that council award contract 2025-002 to Lisbon Paving Company Limited in the amount of $1,161,416 plus applicable taxes. All in favor? And that is carried. And I might just add that in the time that I've been here at council, I do not recall ever having a paving budget over $1 million. So I do want to commend Public Works and council for the ambitious goal of trying to pave more of our roads. So we're on to 14.2, which is staff report IND 2025-14, supply and placement of double surface treatment. And again, back to Mr. Womans for a short.
Yeah. It was approved in the capital budget. It's a little over 1 kilometer from the second line over to the Mulmer-Toss town line. And again, very competitive bids came in.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, do I have a mover for recommendation, please? I have Councillor Borzos, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. That staff report IND 2025-014 dated May 14, 2025 regarding supply and placement of double surface treatment be received. Also award contract 2025-002T to Miller Paving Limited in the amount of $84,770 plus applicable taxes. All those in favor? And that is carried. We're on to 14.3, which is staff report bylaw 2025-003, and it's regarding the proposed amendment to the township parking bylaw. Ms. Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This bylaw is just an amendment. With the new development, staff have identified the need to adjust our parking bylaw. We've had some challenges over the winter with individuals parking over the sidewalks. It's inhibited snow removal. What we did notice and identify at that time is that we don't have anything in place for parking over a sidewalk in the summer months. This is particularly challenging within the subdivisions. We don't want children running out onto the street. We want our families and our residents to be safe. We've received a few complaints, about 15 in 1 month, and I have identified this need, and we're requesting that council approve the bylaw to amend to include parking over sidewalks at all times, and that we require a 3-meter clearance from all fire hydrants.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council through to staff? Mr. Meadows?
Yeah, I was just wondering, when we implement this, do you think we could send out a notice within our tax, maybe our tax bill that we to our residents with regards to this and post it on the website?
We can send it out with the water bills at the water bill timing. We will, again, educate before we start implementing ticketing, of course. We did it over the winter, putting notices on windshields, advising people of this. We don't want to go out there and start writing crazy tickets. So we will educate, we'll put it out on social media and advise the residents.
Thank you. And I'll just comment, I think we have the opportunity, we have a leaflet that goes normally with our tax bills that we could put some information on. I don't think the water bill would go to everybody that we'd be looking at. So because there are sidewalks in areas that don't have town water. So I think Lyle particularly. So I think we could probably just strap that up in the leaflet. And if not, I'd be willing to put that in my message as well in that leaflet. Okay, any other questions or comments with regards to the proposed amendments? All right, and the bylaw amendment is on the bylaw section of the agenda. So this is just the report. So do I have a mover for this recommendation? Councillor Meadows, second by Councillor Cox. That staff report bylaw 2025-003 dated May 14, 2025 regarding proposed amendment to township parking bylaw to prohibit parking over a sidewalk and to require a 3-meter clearance from hydrants be received, and that council consider the necessary bylaw to amend parking bylaw 0421 to prohibit parking over a sidewalk and to require a 3-meter clearance from hydrants. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we had 2 items of staff reports pulled from the consent agenda. So that is 13.1 and 13.4. So we will deal with 13.1 first. So this is staff report Finance 2025-005 with regards to the 2024 capital project year-end status update. And Councillor Borzos, you pulled this item for consideration.
Yes, through the chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. Just a quick question to our treasurer on, I think it's labeled page 304, and it would be the 4th item from the bottom of the page under infrastructure, capital hamlet roads works. I see $369,000 spent on a budget of $200,000. I'm just wondering why and why was it overspent, or it's at 85% overage, so it's not an insignificant amount of money.
Sorry, just can you confirm which project that was again?
This was the Hamlet Roadworks. That we had a $200,000 budget, capital budget allocated, and then we had an actual year-end amount spent on the project, 369.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 169,000 over, which is 84%, 84.5 if you want to be exact.
Yeah, I can go to the treasurer if he has that information, but I believe council approved the overage in that one. We took that from another funding source to supplement the Hamlet microsurfacing.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Bozos, yes, in previously council approved the additional funding because there was additional work in the second year for the Hamlet. So we approved additional funding source, which I believe I've identified in the project comments. Well, the funding comes from either a reserve or a reserve fund, not from the project directly.
Okay, so it came from the asset management reserve, I guess it's.
Correct. It was funded from, the additional funding was from the asset management reserve. I didn't adjust the budget. Council approved the funding. The funding source was the asset management reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any further questions, Councillor Borzos?
No, thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Any other questions or comments from members of council with regards to this item? Councillor Simpson.
Through the chair, with regard to the total variance, I think we're seeing $1,346,000. Is this amount going back into reserves then?
Through your worship to Councillor Simpson. So that carryover amount actually represents all of the projects that are closed. So essentially, money that's not spent or unspent funds in a capital project, what that translates into, we didn't use that money in the reserve or reserve fund. So that much is left over in the reserves, which is essentially being put into projects into 2025. And that's why you see that uptick in the roads projects. So,
sorry. in 2025, we're collecting taxes from our residents. These are funds from 2024, right?
So if I might, Councillor Simpson, I believe the intention that Treasurer was just saying is we're using the variance of last year that was remaining in the reserve funds to actually fund capital projects this year, because none of our capital projects in 2025 are tax levy impact. They're completely out of reserves. So the intention was to use, and I think it was a time at the budget time we explained, the intention was to spend more on our capital needs in 2025 using some of those residual funds that we didn't spend in 2024. And I'll look to the treasurer just to comment, but like I said, I've never seen a $1.1 billion budget for paving. And so we've utilized like 2 years of spending to do in one. I'll just go back to the treasurer.
Through your worship, to council in general. So in essence, any project that is under budget, these are all, what you're seeing here in what's the favorable variance is from 2024 or prior year approved projects. And essentially, if a project is underspent, that means that whatever that project was funded from, whether it be a reserve fund, means it was that money was initially committed to that project. Now that's uncommitted. That means we have not spent that money in the reserve. So that means the reserve or the reserve fund has more money to be kept on for future projects. And to, I think, better answer Councillor Simpson's question in terms of taxes or whatever, the reserves are funded from the tax levy. So we do, for asset management reserve, the fleet reserve, the fire reserve, we have built-in reserve transfers in the annual operating budget. And then the reserve funds are essentially OCIF and gas tax funding. So that's essentially free money. So if we didn't spend it, we're allowed to carry that over. The money that's in the reserve fund for gas tax or OCIF, we're allowed to spend it in future years, which is exactly what we're doing in 2025.
Thank you. Through the chair, I don't ask the question because I'm confused about how we do our funding. I'm noting specifically that we have an amount in excess that remains within reserves. So if you look at it for a 2024 fiscal year, you're looking at about 4 million that's going to be staying in reserves because we allocated 1.6 million for reserves specifically in the 2024 budget. On top of that, we have a 1.5 million surplus from our operating budget and now a $1.3 million surplus from our capital budget. So my concern is we're building up our reserves, and I love reserves, and I've said this before, I love reserves, but I don't think we need to increase our reserves by $4 million, and I think it might be more appropriate that we address some of the deficiencies in our infrastructure and utilize some of these funds for those. I would note specifically that when the 2-year road project was approved by this council, that we took certain roads that were approved by a previous council and took those roads out of that list of projects that needed to be completed and put certain other roads on there. And, I think it's important to prioritize all roads. And I think it would be prudent to see a report coming to council that perhaps puts back some of those roads that were meant to be paved over based on previous council's recommendation. And we should certainly look forward to seeing a report that identifies that. So perhaps if staff can look into that, I think that might be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. I might just comment as well, though, I do believe you may not think you're confused on it, but I believe there is some confusion on the matter. This is just not 2024 capital projects. These are 2022 and 2023 capital projects. So the 1.3 is not realized over 1 year, it's realized over several years. So this is a combination of all the budgets that we have passed, plus really a budget that was passed in the previous term. So these are just carry forward projects that have been closed moving forward, and that there's a variance, favorable variance in the actual reserve funding. But I also want to just acknowledge to council that we didn't increase our reserve transfer this year in our budget. So what we had last year in 2024 for a budget to transfer to reserves, we remain the same in 2025. So we're utilizing the same dollars in each budget. So there was no tax implication to increase our reserve funds this year because it was the same amount that was going in from last year. So I understand the concern that we want to spend more money on our capital projects, and I think we've made good steps in that regard. I think we see it tonight on our agenda with the paving and double surface treatment. I think we've made good progress on it, and I think if we can utilize these dollars in the best possible places, then we're in good shape. Councillor Cox.
Through the chair to Mr. Wilmots, are there any road projects that are like shelf ready, able to be implemented that maybe we could push through since we do have a surplus in reserve funding?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair, Councillor Cox, there is a few chunks of roads that are basically shovel ready that we could push forward with minimal work to bring them up. Some of them is like River Road down off of County Road 1, services quite a few houses. It's gravel. It could possibly be a candidate for either tar and chip or asphalt without a lot of prep work.
Supplementary through the chair, would we be able to obtain a report of the list of roads that are like project shelf ready for implementation for maybe next council meeting so that we can make a decision on maybe implementing more infrastructure work with this additional funding?
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, we could possibly get that pulled together. It'd be a high level of what looks good on the surface, and we have to detail and go and look at culverts and stuff. One that I just came up on is the town line south of the Puckley. We were going to extend that paving a little bit farther, and we found a culvert that has collapsed or is collapsing. So it's something needs to be done that way. So.
So I'll just comment on that as well. Again, we have to be cognizant. We can certainly get a report back from staff, but we have to be cognizant here. This is not all public work dollars. So we have to be mindful that these reserve funds are not simply just for asset management and public works. So there may not be the funding level that we're thinking that there is to do additional roadworks. And I would just caution that as much as Mr. Wilmots can certainly provide the report, mid-year budget changes and additions to workload to our staff and to a paving contractor may change some of the pricing that we do see early on in the year. So we may not see the best bang for the dollar when we go through a mid-year process versus a start of the year. And so I'll be looking to staff for comments on this as well. But I think the opportunity is if we would like to add more in our 2026 budget, that would be the opportune time to look at that rather than a mid-year. But I'll go to the CO first and then Councillor Meadows.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we move forward with our roads needs study, that determines the road itself with respect to the condition of the existing roads, and it also takes into account the traffic on the roads, the road use, the road size, the base of the road, and so that analysis will be done and ranked to note which roads are the best bang for the buck, and that's how we're going to be moving forward once that roads needs study is complete. However, as noted previously, the public works crew do run the roads every day and have up to the minute condition assessments in their mind. So there will be discussions, not just a shot in time, but also a double checking with the road staff before we give that presentation to the mayor through the budget and our recommendations. But it will be based off of hard facts, of equations, and of a third-party review with respect to which roads that staff would put forward and get the best bang for the buck. And just to note that as council just as went forward with the contracts that the Director of Public Works has put forward. If there is any substantial change within those contracts, it would have to go back out. Just to note, there are abilities for us, and there are some flexibilities that we have within a contract to add a little here and there. But as long as there's not a substantial change within the contract, we can do that. But a substantial change is sometimes objective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I totally agree with the mayor on this issue and also the CAO. I hate to start projects in the middle of the year, especially when there should be a lot more discussion on the area and what needs to be done, and the engineering, of course. Also, there's other issues that are coming to play with the township. One of them is a new fire hall that's going to be needed funding for, which we need the reserves for as well. So there's a lot of other areas that need this money, and I'd hate to just rush into one aspect of it, which is roads. And I know our roads need done throughout the township, but we have to look at this logistically. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? All right, seeing none. So there is a recommendation that the staff report Finance 2025-05 dated May 14, 2025 regarding the 2024 capital project year-end status update be received. And do I have a mover for that recommendation? I have Councillor Simpson and a second by Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so the second staff report that was pulled was CLK 2025-09, Strong Mayor Powers. Councillor Meadows, you pulled this item?
Yeah, I was very concerned when I saw this first come on the agenda with the Strong Mayor's Powers. We had a long discussion in amongst the council here with regards to the Strong Mayor Powers moving forward. And unfortunately, I guess the provincial government doesn't listen to councils anymore. So we do have we do have Strong Mayor Powers in place. The issue I have with this and the problem I have with this is we have no procedural bylaw with regards to this. We need a guidance, instructions on how to implement this at this table, how we move forward with this. And it's up to, and it should be a top priority for this municipality in implementing this properly. And right now we have no direction on this other than what's been handed down by the Mr. Ford himself. So, and it's very vague. It's very vague. And if it's being implemented, which it is, then we need more information on this, and we need it now. So I would put a motion forward that we work diligently to have this put forward as an emergency and get something in writing ASAP. And I'll put that on the floor as a motion if I can.
Before you do, if I may comment, I certainly entertain a motion if need be. I will indicate that the CAO, myself, and the clerk have had several conversations thus far on how we are going to manage the new legislation and how it's going to affect the relationship between staff and council. As noted on May 5th, I have already delegated some of the Strong Mayor Powers back to council into CAO. So particularly the organizational structure and the hiring and firing of senior members of staff is back in the hands of the CAO at the administration level. And the appointment of council committee members and chairs and vice chairs, as well as hiring and dismissing a CAO, are back in the hands of council. So those items have already been delegated back to in my opinion, the appropriate representatives. And in our other conversations that we have had, and this is to your point, Councillor Meadows, and I think your motion may be just a bit premature on the matter at the present time. Staff are investigating options of internal policies and how we can best lay out the framework of how these I'll call them interactions, how these interactions do play a part with the strong mayors legislation versus, the staff relationship structure and the council approval process. So I would say I welcome any conversation and any discussion that council may have. I would think, though, for the first while here to let staff do a bit more research and understand where we need to go. It is a priority on their plate. I'm looking at the clerk right now, and it's something that's she's researched quite heavily already. They do also meet with neighboring municipalities for their clerk's departments, and so it's more of a collaborative approach there as to what information's out there and what information we can get back to council. So it is forthcoming, and staff is certainly working on it. I would also just note in the report as well, and I might go to Madam Clerk just for any explanation here as well. The province is coming out, the ministry is coming out with a training session, a virtual training session for members of council to better understand the processes of what the strong mayor powers will do. So I agree, this may have been a rush decision on the behalf of the province because you would think they would have a bit more information forthcoming before they launch some new legislation, and this training would be already on the books and ready to go. But they have indicated, the ministry has indicated that there will be training for members of council and an understanding of what strong mayor powers actually affect the municipality. So I'll go to the clerk just for a bit more explanation.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to council. Yes, I did receive an update from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs yesterday prior to this meeting. They did confirm that there will be virtual training sessions for council that will be rolled out. I will provide you with that information. And additional training will be available for them if following their virtual sessions you have additional questions and we need to bring someone else in-house to address those concerns. To Councillor Meadows' comments, Councillor Meadows, I had the exact same thoughts as you as I read the legislation in regards to the procedure bylaw. Upon taking a deeper dive into the legislation and conferring with some of my colleagues, I would recommend to council at this time that the best action to take would be to wait to make any changes to our procedure bylaw. And that's because automatically the strong mayor power legislation does trump anything contained within our procedure bylaw. It takes precedent over anything we contained in there. The other reason for that is that fundamentally the functioning of our procedural bylaw doesn't change under the strong mayor powers. While we could add additional items to speak to those provisions, the mayor already has the ability to add items or bylaws to the agenda without us making any changes to our procedure bylaw by right of the legislation enacted by the province on May 1st. So my recommendation to council at this time is let's sit with the strong mayor powers, let's explore them, see how these are going to work for our municipality, and then plan to make changes as we go forward either into 2026 or 2027. The other reason for that as well, as everyone knows, is there is a municipal election coming up in 2026. Decisions regarding strong mayor powers may change. And we need to be very mindful about the way that we amend policies and bylaws to ensure that they work under all situations. So as Mayor Anderson has spoken to, he has delegated authorities back to council and the CAO at this time. We want to make sure that the policies we put in place work both with that authority being delegated, and if there's another mayor in the future who chooses not to delegate those authorities, those policies are still in place, so we're not constantly updating those documents. So my request to council today would be to take the training from the ministry and allow staff more time to see how the strong mayor powers are going to impact the township and do a case study on our procedure bylaw at this time.
Supplemental?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is where I have a problem with this whole situation is we have developments that are coming forward right now, right this minute. We have meetings that are going on with regards to these developments. And right now, this council can be overridden on every decision being made. That's the problem I have. It's no longer a democratic position. The mayor has all the power. The mayor can over.
I will have to correct you there because
point.
No, I have to correct you because the policy still, the legislation doesn't overrule council. So there are provisions in the legislation that permit the mayor to provide the budget, to provide a bylaw, which still requires 1/3 of the vote of council. So I take exception to say that the mayor has all the power, and I'm not trying to make this personal one bit at all. But what I want to make sure is the legislation is very clear that there are still decisions being made by members of council and not solely by the mayor.
Supplemental then.
And you have the floor. Sorry, and I
Yeah,
apologize
exactly.
for the interjecting, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that.
Well, maybe I wasn't clear in what I was saying. Okay. What I'm concerned about is us being overridden as a council and not knowing that we're overridden by a council. I know it states that council has to be informed, and we have 21 days but the problem I have sitting here is we do not have a mechanism in place in our procedural bylaw that puts that forward. Okay, that's the problem I have. Now, we can sit here and we can vote on something. You can override what this council has said if it's under 5 people that have made that decision. We need 2/3 of a majority to override whatever you have put into, like this, if you've overridden it. Where's the mechanism that's in place that says that that's going to come forward within 21 days or whatever time limit that's needed? There's nothing in our procedural bylaw that states that. So that's where my concern is. And the fact that this council has worked well this term of council. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is a wrench that's gone into the spokes of the turning wheel. And this is all because of the Ford government. And on top of that, there's other things that he's changing for the development community, which is the Endangered Species Act, Bill 5 he's put forward. Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't even know why we have council anymore. I really don't, because he has given that executive power to the mayor to make those decisions. And that's where the problem is. That we're eventually not going to have a democratic process, and the people of this community are no longer going to have a voice. None. Because it's not going to be a parliamentary rule or decision. It's going to be the decision of one person who has more power than the Premier of Ontario, which doesn't make any sense to me. He's given every mayor that power. It doesn't make sense. Where are we going in this province? I mean, if I was a citizen in this township, I would be absolutely appalled, but I've heard nothing. It's been as quiet as a mouse out there. Nobody cares. No, I'm just saying, nobody seems to care. I'm sitting here as a councillor that's supposed to be a democratic process, and my powers have just been wiped out. And this isn't a speech. This is fact. This is stuff that's gone through. And we all should be pissed off here. And sorry, that's not parliamentary rules or words, but I would be. And I would be as a citizen of this township. Anyways, that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you. I'll go back to the clerk for some clarification as well, but I do have 3 initial comments on that. One, excuse me, I've just been getting over a cold as well. So the first item I do want to acknowledge, and again, I think I've been very clear in my comments earlier tonight, we're not throwing a wrench into this process. We have been working very well together, and that's the full intention of myself, and I would hope the rest of the council to continue working in a collaborative, meaningful way. I think that is the best decision-making process you can have. So I'm not looking to change anything in that regard. 170 municipalities, 170 mayors have strong mayor powers. They were granted by the province under legislation. We are all going through the same situation. This is going to be a learning curve for a lot of municipalities of the 170 who have these powers. I've seen in multiple cases already where, like myself, many mayors have provided the delegation back to the CAO and council for the things they can delegate back. There are certain duties under the new legislation that the mayor simply has to use, cannot delegate to anyone. And I've been very clear that if and when that has to be used, because they will have to be used, because to have any mayor say that they don't have to use them is incorrect. They have to use them. There's the budget, there's bylaws, there's items that they must act on. So these are things that I personally will do in the best interest of the municipality and with advice from council and staff, because that is how municipalities are supposed to work, with collaboration. We have, I guess the overarching theme here is whether you agree with the powers bestowed by the province to strong mayor powers to this 170 municipalities or not, we have to work together. Democracy is still here. We all sit at this table. We all have a voice. We all can provide opinions. That is not going anywhere. We are keeping that, and the province is not taking that away. So we have the opportunity to sit here to make decisions, to make informative decisions. And the process is that I would concur with Councillor Meadows that, yes, they're not in the procedure bylaw, but as the clerk indicated earlier, the legislation does lay out the process for how the mayor has to respond to council, has to provide notice. The timelines are within that legislation, and then council would follow that legislation as well if there were an instance where a bylaw needed to be vetoed. There are processes in place. So, and I will go to the clerk just for clarification on that, because I think that's being lost a wee bit, that the legislation, we are creatures of the province. We are here at the will of the province. If the province doesn't want us here, they will tell us they don't want us here. We act on their behalf and we through them. So if they provide legislation to us, it trumps some of the information or some of the policies that we have. Their policies and their legislation supersedes what we have. So I'll go to the clerk just for a bit more clarification on this.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to council. For clarity, in the event that a bylaw is vetoed, there is currently a mechanism within our township procedure bylaw to allow council to reconsider that bylaw as per the strong merit legislation. What would most likely occur is that a majority of council would petition myself for a council meeting to reconsider the bylaw as per the legislation. I would receive that petition from a majority of council, and the meeting would be held at the date and time as per the petition. That would be the item listed on the agenda. And then in order to overturn the veto, it would be a 2/3 vote of all of council. So not just who's in attendance at the meeting, but council as a whole. So the mechanism to overturn a veto does currently exist within our procedure bylaw, and the same process could be applied to vetoes applied to budget amendments that were passed by council.
All right, so I'll go to Councillor O'Leary for comments or questions.
Through the chair, my major concern is I've read everything that's been presented so far. There's no duration. It doesn't say how long this is going to be in effect. It doesn't say that now Scott has returned the power to council with regards to delegation, CAO and things like that, but we're having a municipal election in a little over a year. So what happens if we get a new mayor and he doesn't agree to that? But there's another major issue there. It's not like Scott's personality is not in question, or his delegation of authority is not in question. It's down the road. If this is not addressed now, we're going to have a major issue. I mean, there's 7 people sitting here, and I don't know how we do this. Maybe Robin can find out for us or whatever, but I think we need to go to the provincial government and say to them, explain to us how we can run this in a democratic manner. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not a democratic matter. It's far beyond that. It's like, basically, it's like a communist move, really. When you come right down to it, one person delegates everything. It's not right. So I know we did, we had a long discussion and everybody in the room voted against it. And for this term, I think we're all right. But the next term, I don't know. That's my problem. Thank you.
So I'll go to Madam Clerk. I'm not sure if you've had any communication with province or maybe neighboring municipalities as to what other avenues of approach, as Councillor O'Leary indicates, there might be.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor O'Leary. So as he did mention, this council did pass a resolution advocating to the province not to expand strong mayor powers. That letter was sent into the province as well as submitted as comments on the legislation. And I know letters similar to the one that we submitted have been circulated by multiple municipalities across the province. At this time, the province isn't open for any more commenting in a formal capacity. But what I would encourage council to do is, I know some members of this council are encouraging conferences that are attending conferences such as AMO. You are politicians for this community. So if you do still feel strongly about this, I would encourage you to attend conferences and advocate for your position to your counterparts across the province.
Thank you. So I've seen some multiple hands here. So I've got Councillor Simpson, and then I'm going to go back to Councillor Borzos and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Through the chair. With regard to this, I'm not going to blame the mayor for the decisions of another level of government. It's the province. We voted against it. We've noted our objection to the legislation, and we've noted that strongly. And with respect to some of the things that the mayor has delegated, and perhaps there are other things that can be delegated as well, my concern is that many things can happen behind the scenes, and those changes and those decisions would not even come before council, especially with the developments that are coming forward and the other provisions in the act. I have a lot of concerns. It quite literally reduces the power of council. A lot of decisions are made before it comes to council. When it comes to creating a budget, for example, that's something that the mayor would have the ability to put forward. And those are concerning issues. And certainly, I'm not going to comment on our budgets, but it creates a fairer system when staff are the one planning it, when we have procedures in place that, the budget is allocated towards what the greatest needs are as opposed to different areas of the municipality. So there's a lot of issues that I see with that. And the biggest problem that I see with this is that there's nothing in this legislation that shows that it will result in building more homes faster, because that is the whole intent of this legislation. Now, that said, this is our reality, and we are in this situation where we have to move forward as a council with this. So I would like to see a timeline on when council can have the training. And additionally, if that training is happening online or in silos, then perhaps we should have a follow-up meeting that's set up so that we can discuss and strategize on how we move forward. As much as this is new legislation for us, this is not new legislation. It has been in place in other municipalities, 40 other municipalities for over 2 years. I know that the AMCTO especially has guidelines and has prepared a lot of information for municipal staff on these issues. So if we can get that briefing sooner, I think that would benefit all of us. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm just going to go back to the clerk. Did we have a timeline from the ministry as to when they're planning on doing this training?
Through your worship to Councillor Simpson. So I initially made contact with the ministry approximately 2 weeks ago. They didn't have a timeline at that time. Like I said, I did receive an update earlier this week from them saying that they will be releasing times for the online training shortly and that they won't be entertaining any additional in-person training until those virtual sessions have occurred. So I've been in contact with 2 of our representatives from the ministry and I can continue to reach out to them and put pressure on them for those training dates. But we are waiting for them to provide those dates to us, and then I'll get them to council as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Borzos.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, it's more of a comment than a question. I guess everybody's commenting, so why should I be any different? But I'm trying to look at this from a little more pragmatic point of view. And while my colleagues were talking here, I went up and down, back and forth, left and right on the Strong Mayor Powers chapter of the Ontario Municipal Council Guide. Nowhere, anywhere in there, it says that the mayor must accept these powers. It says the mayor can, the mayor shall, the mayor could, the mayor if he wants to. Nowhere. So to me, the best solution to this would be just to say that, okay, in Adjala-Tosorontio, we will ride out the rest of this term as we were up until now. And if the province doesn't like it, then you know what? Too bad for them. We have our own ways of deciding over certain things. And I mean, maybe this is up to the mayor to decide and say, okay, I wish not to use my powers and I will just run the council as it was up until now and take that 1.5 years or 1 year and a bit that we have left until next election to do the training, to do the proper development of bylaws, to procedural anything that we need to do. And then when it comes next term, then if the strong mayor powers are still in place, then we can roll into it nicely, knowing that we've done everything we could possibly do and not compromising anything and not disrupting any type of order. And to my colleague, Mr. Meadows' point here, we don't put the wrench into any kind of cogs or wheels. So that would be my recommendation and suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to just comment again. You know, that comment, if that was included in the legislation, might have been helpful that mayors would be able to say no, but it's not. So unfortunately, it is given to the mayors. The powers and duties are given to the mayors without any say. The legislation does trump any of our policies and other legislations that are out there. So unfortunately, that can't happen. And I'll go to the clerk just for the clarification on what that legislation actually kind of looks like as to Councillor Borzos' comments that there are certain duties and responsibilities that are given to the mayor without any opportunity to say no.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through to Council. So this legislation is written in a really interesting way, that even the powers that the mayor has chosen to delegate back to Council and the CAO at this time, mayors are required to utilize their strong mayor powers to delegate that authority back. So we know those are steps that Mayor Anderson has taken at these times, but had he not done that, organizational structure, hiring of the CAO and local boards and committees still would have resided as his duties as assigned by the legislation. The province has crafted this legislation in such a way that mayors must use the strong mayor powers even to delegate the 3 items that they can delegate back. You are correct in saying that some of these may not be used by a mayor. A mayor may choose never to add a bylaw to a council agenda or a matter to an agenda for a consideration, but that's not a decision that council can make. The legislation has already dictated that all of the mayors who have been expanded strong mayor powers have these powers and actions, and it is up to those individual actors to make the decision as to what to do with them, regardless of the position of council.
Okay, Councillor Borzos, follow up.
Through the chair, to follow up to the council, Madam Clerk. I'm reading verbatim from the council book here, whatever, it's probably the most up-to-date version of it. It says veto power and council override. The head of council can choose to veto certain bylaws, for example. I mean, it doesn't say must veto bylaw. And if that's the case, if they written it, if the province wrote this legislation in such a silly way that it's becoming really a open to interpretation, then maybe perhaps we should use whatever we saved on integrity commissioner fees in the last 2.5 years and just do a legal challenge against the province on this one, because this is unacceptable to me. It's just, are they trying to put this in place? And if they do, to what extent? Why are they pushing? Where is the language is not there? I don't see the language here. It says can. Everything is can and could. Doesn't say that. Anyway, sorry. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a point of clarification on that. Yes, the legislation may say can, but that's not a power that a strong mayor can give back. They must always hold that ability. And that is my point, is that there's no way that they're allowed to, under the legislation, pass a motion saying that they refuse it altogether, or else Mayor Anderson would not have been able to delegate council the authority to hire and fire the CAO. He had to utilize the strong mayor powers in order to give council that authority back. And so when I speak of the legislation being crafted in such a way that it forces the mayors to use the powers, that is what I'm indicating. Even to give council back authority, a mayoral decision had to be made under strong mayor powers.
And I'll just comment. So again, the word can it's still the option. It's in the opinion of the mayor then whether the mayor vetoes a bylaw or not. So the power is granted to the mayor to decide if the mayor wants to use that power to veto a bylaw. You can't take away that power, because it's granted by the province.
And I'm not suggesting.
So it's left with the individual mayors and to determine if they would want to veto a bylaw once passed by council.
And if this is how we interpret this, then it's great, because then I go back to my original suggestion, I guess, that maybe Mr. Mayor can just say that, okay, I choose not to, as you can choose to do so. Also, you can choose not to do so. To live with your strong mayor powers in this township until November 2026, and then just business as usual, and that's it, game over. Thank you. I think I.
No, and I can understand that comment for sure, right? Like, but I think just going back to the language, it's again can and may choose. So I'm not going to sit here. I look in the kind of the planning world. It's always is never black and white. Life is never black and white. There's a lot of gray. And so I don't want to sit here this evening and say that the powers, I'm never going to use the powers, because I have already used the powers to give you back the power. Like it's just ironic that you actually have to use the strong mayor powers to give individuals back the power they once had. It is right. So I've used the mayor power. I've used the strong mayor powers 3 times thus far, in the short time.
I guess
I've had to give the powers back.
I guess my point is, if we use the strong mayor powers 3 times to give it back to the council, then essentially it was a precedence created by doing so. But I mean, at the same time, nobody says that we can't stop right here and right now and say, okay, moving forward, business as usual. That's my whole point, that there's an option. This is not a dictatorial state. This is supposed to be, yes, we are creatures of province. I hear that all the time. Well, it's too bad because the province is not here. They are not talking to these people out there and at the other end of the internet here. So based on what they are deciding on what can be done and what cannot be done. Half the province didn't even vote for Ford. So anyways, thank you.
Well, and again, I can understand the concern, and I respect the concern. It has been, and as I indicated earlier in the meeting, it's been my full intention to have the processes continue the way they have. I'll just use the budget for an example, just to kind of highlight I guess maybe the faults with some of this legislation. It is my intention to be doing the exact same thing as what we've done in years past with our budget. There's staff involvement. I've been involved in meetings with staff, shaping and crafting budgets and understanding where we're going and how this is going to come to council and what we need to do for streamlining. That's not going to change. That's been the process for years here at this municipality. There's always been that collaboration between staff, the mayor, and council. So we're going to continue that collaboration. What the strong mayor power does, though, is it actually states, regardless of all the collaboration in the world, when we present a budget, which we want to do, make sure we get our tenders out in October or November of a year, any budget before February 1st is the mayor's budget. Simply put, legislation, if any budget that comes before council, whether it's crafted by council, whether it's crafted by staff, whether it's just the same budget that we had last year and we bring it forward the next year, it's the mayor's budget. Doesn't matter, because the legislation lays out that that is what that is. Now, if we don't want to pass a budget until after February 1st of every year, which then only gives us 3 months to get a budget done and tendered out before tax rates in June, then it becomes back in the realm of calling it a municipal budget. So again, it's a very interesting way the legislation is crafted to purport that there's some sort of power there. From what I've heard from my colleagues around the county, is we're going to continue on making sure that we craft a budget for the municipality that is representative of council, representative of the community, so that it is something that everyone is proud of. And I think I can assure you today that that's the full intention of trying to do, is keep the normalcy of what we've done in this township in the past continuing on in the future. So I can understand there's reservations. I can understand there's concerns on the item. It is my intention to see that we continue to work in a collaborative and meaningful way here at council table, day in and day out. And if council's with me on that, then we're continuing to work the best way we can.
And in closing, nevertheless, the fact remains that up until now you were one voice. Now you are 7 voices if you want to be. And that's the point. That's the summary of it, really. And so that makes this council redundant, really. So thank you.
I don't think your opinions are irrelevant or redundant. So that's like I said, that's the collaborative approach. Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Borzos actually touched on the subject I was going to bring up. Must have made, but I think you did it in a better manner than I would have, right? It's a little bit more intellectual. I don't agree with any of these strong mayor powers at all. I think it removes the democratic process. And I do believe that Mayor Anderson's will exercise them with caution and the way he's been doing it, like as Councillor O'Leary stated, his integrity is not in question here. I think he'll still try to work with council and not abuse the power that's given to him. The fear is the future, like it's been brought up time and time again here. And yeah, I think the virtual training is imperative for us to get as soon as it comes out. And then we can formulate our procedural bylaws after that training is conducted. But other than that, I think we're all between a rock and a hard spot.
Deputy Mayor Laux, I saw your hand if you want to speak.
Thank you, to your worship, and excellent points from everybody. And we all know the situation we're in. And I'm just hoping, as I've heard, we have faith in the process that we have been doing. And as the mayor has said, let's move forward doing the same thing we've been doing. Unfortunately, Mr. O'Leary's point hits hard. A new mayor coming in may change everything. So ideally, yes, training, everything. Hopefully the mayor keeps his word and we keep moving the way we keep moving. I have faith in it. I don't see us changing the way we're doing things. I think we do things very well here. So, you know, we may have some contentious issues, but we're getting stuff done. So let's hope for the best here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Through the chair, just want to reiterate, and I know a lot's been said so far, and I will highlight the semantics that's kind of been noted so far. As much as the mayor is saying that he has delegated certain authorities, I will note he is still reserving his right to utilize strong mayor powers in a manner that may diminish the role of council. So nothing in what he has said has identified that he won't be doing that. I think he said he'd like to keep things working the same way, but he is reserving that right to be able to utilize it in any way. There are several other aspects of the strong mayor powers that can be delegated that have not been delegated. Again, I understand that that's his prerogative, but I will note that residents should be aware that we are in a strong mayor situation. There are going to be decisions that may not come to council, things that may be, dealt with in a different manner, and that is permitted under this law. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Point of clarification.
Sure.
You just made a comment that it may not come to council. I don't believe that's true.
So there are instances where a mayor may have discussions with staff and have a decision made prior to the decision coming to council, especially with regard to development.
Can I have clarification?
Yeah, and I was
for
going
that,
to just
please?
comment personally on myself on a few things here as well, just to
Yeah, no, I just
clarify.
want clarification
The
from.
first, I just wanted to clarify is, Councillor Simpson, you're quite right. The powers always rest within the office of the mayor. I can't not, that legislation has permitted the office of the mayor to retain those powers regardless of delegation. I choose to delegate certain powers to council, and I choose to delegate powers to the CAO. But the powers still rest with the mayor, whether he or she chooses to actually delegate that or not. So the strong mayor powers are written in such a way that the decisions those delegations are on the basis of the mayor delegating those powers. So I'll clarify that is absolutely true. But I will go to the clerk on this one as well, that there is no decision mechanism in the strong mayor powers other than providing direction to senior staff to provide advice and information back to the mayor and then to council. So if there was a potential bylaw, if there was a new policy that was needing to be drafted, I could provide written direction to the clerk, including and carbon copy to the members of council, and ask for certain information to be presented to the mayor and to council. So it'd be no different than a staff report coming back to council for their consideration. It would be information. So would there be an instance where I wouldn't have to request the information from council? Like I wouldn't have to put a notice of motion on the agenda? Yes, because I would be able to direct staff to provide that information directly to council. But it doesn't subvert council from making the decision when that information comes back. So I'll go to Madam Clerk. I maybe muddied that a bit more, but that's kind of my understanding of that process.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to council. So the ability for the mayor to give directions to staff must be in writing. These directions will be posted to our township website and are subject to MFIPA. And the mayor may only give written direction to staff through the CAO and clerk for advice or recommendations related to their powers and duties underneath the strong mayors. So for development, he may request policies or advice, but not make decisions. And that must be provided in writing. So every time a mayor may request that staff write a policy for consideration or write a memo that provides recommendations, that directive would be included on the township website. So all of council and all of the public would know that the mayor has exercised that power to ask staff for a recommendation. It does not constitute a decision. It is a mayoral directive. Mayors may add items to the agenda for consideration, a matter to an agenda, and that is subject to a majority vote of council or a bylaw to a council agenda, but that is subject to notice provisions as per applicable provincial legislation, and then is subject to a 1/3 majority vote by council.
So in essence, the directives can be made by the mayor. The decisions are implemented by council.
So any decision of let's say a planning nature or whatever, you have the authority to override it? Is that correct?
I'd have the authority to veto a bylaw, a planning bylaw that came to council.
Right.
Between the council meeting in 2 days.
Right. And then we would be informed about it.
Correct.
Then we would have to petition a meeting if we were all against it. And you need 5 people sitting on this council to be against it. Anything that you put forward. to veto it.
You would need 4 members of council to petition the meeting. And then you'd need
Five.
you'd need a 2/3 of the majority of 2/3 of council vote of all members of council, regardless at the meeting or not.
Now, would that, see, this is where the procedural comes in that we need clarification on. What if one person isn't able to make it out of the 5 on council or the 6 on council or the 7 on council? If one person isn't able to make it, or one gets kicked out, you know, like, does that vote, where does that vote land?
So
Does it land in?
and I believe that's, Madam Clerk, you might want to comment, but I believe that's again one of those little finite things that are in this legislation that it says all members of council, and it doesn't necessarily mean that all members of council at the meeting. So if you had 4 members of council attend the meeting that was petitioned,
That's right.
and 3 members did not, you would not be able to overturn the reconsideration.
So
But I'll go, Madam Clerk, I think I've interpreted that right too, but.
So
Thank you. So
just for us, just for the sake of argument here, like, all you would need is a certain member of council to say they can't make it. And no, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at maybe even the mayor,
I wouldn't have to attend the meeting.
You would have to, well, the deputy mayor. Okay, so we'd need 6 people sitting at this council chamber to make a decision to override or veto a mayor's decision. And we can't even, half the time, we can't even sit here and communicate with one another. So do you think we're going to be able to petition a meeting and have 6 people sitting in here to make a decision that the mayor has vetoed? Let's say it's a land expropriation that we don't agree with or something like that. Are we going to be able to veto that motion? Not likely. And that's where I have a problem with this. This is not the way council was supposed to be designed for the people of this township or the people of this province.
For sure. All right, I've had enough discussion on this one. Okay, and once, as Madam Clerk, once we do hear from the ministry on training, we will certainly get that communicated to members of council, because I'm wondering what they're going to provide. Be very interesting. All right, so the recommendation on the floor is that the staff report CLK 2025 009 dated May 14, 2025 regarding strong mayor powers be received. And do I have a mover for that recommendation? I have Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, I'm just confirming that was all the staff reports. That it was. So we are on to correspondence. And so we had one item of correspondence that was pulled from the consent agenda, and that's 13.5 with regards to the County of Simcoe request to consider consent of County of Simcoe bylaw 711925 to change the composition of county council. And I'll go to the deputy mayor who pulled this item first.
Thank you, through your mayor. I just wanted to point out that the governance committee is meeting on May 20th, which is next Tuesday, to discuss the weighted vote part of this aspect. It has been through county voted to go forward to go down to 16 plus a full-time warden. They are discussing all the factors involved with a weighted vote, which to me is it's an extremely important part of this process, as us being the smaller municipality, being rural. We're the little guy on the field there, and the big guys on the field can beat us up pretty good depending on how this weighted vote discussion goes. So I just wanted to defer this to next month's meeting so that we can get the information that we're going to get from the governance meeting on how they're going to move forward with the weighted vote, whether that's going to stay exactly the same, whether there's going to be changes to that. And I would like all of us to get that information so that we can make a educated decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With your indulgence, Deputy Mayor, and as you feel strongly that we want to put the motion on the floor. I was hoping to have just a brief discussion, but I'm going to look at council and just say, like, the deputy mayor has the right to put a motion to defer. So if we can keep the conversation to kind of just initial feeling, I guess, first off, and then we can see how this goes, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, like I said, I like making decisions with as much information as I can. And I believe next week's meeting is going to provide us with pretty much half of what we're missing right now. It may not change at all, but I'm hoping that the people at governance will look at the weighted situation and hopefully be able to maybe amend it to be more in favor to smaller townships like ours. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to go to Councillor Simpson, and I got Councillor Meadows.
Through the chair, this is a very interesting subject, and I will note that we were all watching with popcorn because of the interest that there was in this, and also some of the issues that came up out of this. I understand that our members on county council certainly voted in favor of reducing the size initially, and now there's additional changes with regard to the weighted vote that has been requested. I don't know that, especially seeing how the vote went in county, perhaps the mayor and deputy mayor can provide a rationale for their decisions and what the thought process is with regard to this proposal now.
I'll start on that one, but I concur with the deputy mayor. We need to, the county council asked governance committee, voted on that, to go back and look at the weighted vote of when and where a weighted vote can be used. There are several on county council that believe that weighted votes should only be used on non-governance issues. So budget, planning, things like that. Whereas a governance matter, each individual member of council, county council, is therefore one vote on all governance because they're sitting in their chair being that member representing the municipality. And I agree with that concept that governance issues should be dealt with as a whole county council. And if it's a reduction of county council, it'd be 17 members. And those 17 then would all have a single vote on how the governance of county council would work. It'd be something simpler. It could frame this as a procedure item. When we make additions to our council meeting agenda, you need 2/3 majority. So in the governance sector here, then we would say, well, you can't call a recorded vote on that issue because a recorded vote would trigger a weighted vote. This case, it'd have to be a straight up 1-for-1 vote, and every member of county council has the same say on this. Because I think the concerns from a lot of municipalities, and we could certainly get into some of the details here, but if you do the math, 6 of 17 members with the highest density populations in the county of Simcoe would carry a question. So you have 17 members of county council, you'd only need 6 to vote in favor of something to actually see it happen. So if that did happen, that's fine, but that means that those same decisions on governance would have the same factor. So 6 or 7 of the largest municipalities control the governance of the county too. And I think that's where the fairness now becomes unfair because everyone is there entitled to a vote on a topic of governance. So if it's, for example, to reduce the county council size and you call a recorded vote, well, then you should be able to, each member of county council should be able to respond based on their vote and not on the number of people that are actually in their municipality. So
Is that the position of the deputy mayor as well?
I support the deferral for that reason, because I think we need to see where the governance committee comes back with some recommendations, because that will kind of shape how we as a municipality get a fair shakedown on our vote. I'm not sure if you wanted to offer anything more on that. That's.
I 100 support that. 100%.
Because I know your vote was the other way in the initial session.
I voted against it the whole time.
I believe you were.
I have multiple issues with going down to 17.
Okay.
And I will gladly discuss those if we can defer it to next meeting and fully and fruitfully, my biggest concern right now is to find out what's going to happen next week at that governance meeting. Because like I said, it may change nothing. It may be like, this is what it's going to be and this is how it is. And then we can fruitfully discuss it in June. That's all I'm asking right now.
Okay, anything further, Councillor Simpson?
Well, I just want to note, I believe the votes were on the record, and I believe you were in favor at the last meeting. However, that meeting did not conclude because there was a walkout. I think at the subsequent meeting you voted against. So just for the record. I'm just curious, so does that mean that you don't think that it's necessary to have the weighted vote? Just to clarify the position. Because I think we're going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of the weighted vote in the future.
Well, I would caution about that. Right,
because
so you get a vote for every 2,000 people you put into the township. So right now, I believe we get 5. If it was going to a 7-member or 17-member council, I believe it'd be a vote of. Don't quote me on this. It'd be 5 or 6 for the municipality. So we would have to add 2,000 more people for one additional vote, and those aren't caught up until the yearly. I believe it's yearly census provided by or yearly information provided by the clerk's department to our clerk's department to the county clerk department. So we would have to pretty well quadruple our township in a year to get a vote ratio to Bradford, West Gwillimbury, or Innisfil, or Newtek. We would have to grow our population. We're at 11,000 now. We'd have to grow our population to 30 to 40,000 in excess within 2 years to actually get the same weighted vote as one of the more urban areas in the county. So I think it's very difficult to do that. I think it's actually impossible.
I wasn't suggesting that we're going to have the same vote as Newtek or Bradford. Just that we are seeing a lot of growth in our municipality, so we would have an increase more than, municipalities in northern Simcoe, for example.
Yes, but potentially so. I know other areas in the county, and if you did watch the county council meeting, the last one, I did speak to the weighted vote in that particular reason. As to the weighted vote has been around since 1994 when the County of Simcoe Act was passed by the province. The last bylaw that was updated, I believe, was 2002 as to how the weighted vote is assessed and how the population numbers change. Now, in 2002, the County of Simcoe was a far different place. Bradford, West Gwillimbury was the size of Alliston now, maybe not even that as much. So Alliston was 14,000 people, or New Tecumseh was 15,000 people at 2002. They're approaching 40. So, in 2002, there was the parity, I would say, had the county council went to a 17-member county council at that time, would have been not a weighted, if a weighted vote was called, it probably would have still been 8 or 9 members to actually have to carry a question. We've seen a drastic change in that. And the other item I did mention in the county as well is that was not at our choice. For years, the County of Simcoe said you cannot grow. So you've got the planning department or the province, for example, in this case, because the province did it by numbers, saying you can't grow, but we'll grow a growth node in New Tecumseh or Bradford, West Gwillimbury, so they get more power. And we're sitting at the table saying, how's that fair? It's not fair. Everyone should have the right. We talked about this with strong mayor powers. Everyone should have a right at the table to express themselves, to vote on a question. And if we're going to constantly set a county council and get called for a weighted vote, 6 or 7 members of the county council would monopolize that voting power. So why would I want to show up? Why would I want to go there and sit there and just say here, this is what you're going to do, or this is how the county is going to proceed? Shaping things in the county of Simcoe for the next 20 or 30 years, and we're sitting there with no voice. That's the troubling aspect of how this whole system works with the weighted vote. So I'll go to Councillor Meadows next, and then I've got Councillor Cox.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. the weighted vote was brought down by the province. They set up the formula for the weighted vote for the county of Simcoe. And I don't necessarily agree with the way it's being utilized now for, basically the same reason what the mayor just stated. This is a procedural matter, and I don't think they used the weighted vote when they implemented this to begin with, like when this whole thing was implemented. So to use it now to do this type of a procedural decision, I do not agree with. When it came to county council the last time, they told us basically you either do it or the province is going to step in and do it for us. Every time, yeah. I did vote in favor of downsizing the size of county council the last time, but with this new strong mayor's power that's being put into place, I'm retracting what I want to see a deputy mayor there, because now you got two people there with two different decisions on any item that comes to county council. One has strong mayor powers, but one's an individual as well. So he doesn't have strong mayor powers. So because this strong mayor powers has been put into place, I am dead against this, because you're giving the mayor even more power to represent you at county council. So I am totally against this. I'm all for leaving the deputy mayors there. And if Ford wants to do something, let him, because he's the one that's going to look like an well. Anyways, but I'm all for keeping the deputy mayors here, and I believe there's a vote that has to come to this council with regards to that, and it has to be done before June the 3rd, I believe it is.
So, yeah, so that's part of the discussion, and I'm okay, like, as the deputy mayor has indicated, we can look at a deferral tonight because we still have time.
Yeah.
To make a decision. In the absence, if we put a motion on for deferral this evening to see what the governance committee does, if council chooses not to defer the item tonight, then we would have to vote on whether or not we consent to the county bylaw or not consent to the county bylaw, and we could do that tonight. But I think, as the deputy mayor indicated, it's better to wait for the governance committee.
Well, I'd rather make a decision to vote in favor of leaving it the way it is, especially with the strong mayor powers going into effect, than put it off any further and show them that we don't care. We stand behind the way it stands right now, going forward, for this, because of what's happened. So I would put that into play, but
so it's certainly an option tonight. So, Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair, it seems like county council is trying to formulate some sort of superpower team here. All right, like you give all these mayors strong powers, and then you're going to bring them all together, and all of a sudden, instead of having, more individuals at the table, you bring less people to the table that have more power. So I don't really agree with that, to be honest. And yeah, I'm okay either way. We have a lot of time until June 30th, 2025. It says here. Whether we want to defer to find more information, but at the current status, I don't agree with them reducing it. So I'm good either way.
Well, I will comment on whether that changes the deputy mayor's position as to deferral or not. If we want to take the question to not consent this evening, that's fine. I will tell you, to be honest, I do not expect the governance committee to come back with anything
different,
really meaningful for a change. I expect that, not to say that I'm not waiting for the information, but from what I've seen and heard, I don't think there's going to be too much in a change in that regard. And if this council is supportive of not consenting to a change in composition of county council, then we could certainly make that recommendation tonight and move forward with that. That's just, we would just hate to, if there's a willingness today to reduce the county, then I would say, like, let's make sure we have all the information we can get to make sure that we're making the right decision. But if others have already formulated that idea, that's totally up to council. So I'll go to Councillor Simpson again.
Through the chair, I think you're right when you're in terms of the governance committee. I don't anticipate that they're going to be changing anything. Again, the strong, or not the strong, but the
Strong county powers.
county powers. And the weighted vote is still applicable there as well. And so I don't imagine anything's going to change. I will say with regard to getting rid of the deputy mayor from county council, there are some benefits to that. You would reduce the amount of money that you're spending for a deputy mayor in county council. I will say, however, that I too support, that there's a second person representing the municipality on that board, and there is a benefit to the municipality for that happening. So, thank you.
Okay. Well, and I think that's concept. And again, we didn't get into too much details on this, and I know the deputy mayor might have some background information, but the savings that might be expected from eliminating one member of county council, we've seen in multiple districts, for example, the city of Toronto, where they cut their council in half, then turned around and hired an administrative assistant to every councillor. And I think the same would apply for the county. You go to a full-time warden, you're going to hire an administrative assistant to the county's warden. The warden's job is a $180,000 job. What's the assistant's job? So you're looking at these potentials here where the savings of 400 and some odd thousand at today's rate, hiring 3 additional staff to help council along because they only have 17 members instead of 32 would probably eat up that savings pretty quickly. So I'm not sure if you want to share any more information. I'd be willing to put the question on tonight not to consent to the bylaw if that's the will of council. But I'm not sure if Deputy Mayor, if you wanted to provide any additional information you have.
I have loads of information here that I'm not going to share with you. If it's the will of this council to vote it down, I will gladly call the question now. If you get into money, yeah, there's whatever they call it, $490,000. It's $1.50 a resident per year. And as the mayor stated, there's going to be EAs and there's going to be all kinds of hirings there, and that $500,000 is going to disappear within the next 2 years. Splitting, to me, having 2 people there, I have the numbers here of everybody. Innisfil has 16 people. There may be 2 differing opinions there. So having or 16 votes, having the 2 different sides, there's your democratic process. It doesn't always mean, I've never always voted the same as what the mayor has voted there. So to me, the system works great. I have a colleague that put out all this information and benefits and risks. There's 2 benefits, saving $1.50 a resident a year, and the undisclosed efficiency and effectiveness. There's a long list of things that just make it not really feasible. And I believe many people have come up and they say, oh, they bring this up every year and it gets voted down. It probably gets voted down for a reason, because it's actually working, and I'm not fighting this for my job. This is for the next council coming up. May not even be me. So to me, the way that it is, I think it's wrong. And if we're going to vote this down, I'll call the vote right now.
Okay. And I'll just also I guess I'll just throw the warning of the wise here is the triple majority process is indicated in the letter from the county. So the first part of the triple majority was the passage of the bylaw from county council. County passed that. That's the first part of the triple majority. The second part of the triple majority is coming down to the lower tier municipalities, so all 16 municipalities, and those councils have to vote on it. Now, what the third part of the triple majority is the electorate in each of the municipalities that support it. So for example, we're going right back to the weighted vote situation here. Based on population, if Bradford, West Gwillimbury, or Innisfil, Collingwood, Midland, for example, passes this resolution to consent to this, then we would still be outnumbered because we don't have the population numbers to provide any substance to the negative. So I will just caution council that whether we make a decision tonight or not, it may not be the decision that comes out to county council, and it may not be the decision of the majority of of municipalities either, because it will certainly revert back to the population base of the larger municipalities.
Mhm.
So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks. I will note, I believe Madam Clerk informed me today that 2 municipalities have already deferred this item until next month to have a discussion on what the governance committee was doing. So I think there is certainly a mixed or a varied approach to this initiative. So I think at the end of the day, if this council wants to make a decision, then I can put the motion on the floor as to not consent, and we can see where we want to go. So okay, so let's put the motion on, and then we can go from there after for additional comments. So the motion would read that the council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio not consent to the County of Simcoe bylaw 711925 being a bylaw to change the composition of council of the corporation of the County of Simcoe, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the county clerk. Okay, so we would not be consenting to the bylaw that's been passed by county council. Okay, Councillor O'Leary, I did see your hand. Did you want to provide additional comment?
I just wanted to support our deputy mayor.
Okay, thank you. And Deputy Mayor, did you have any additional comments?
No, I'm fine. If the will of council is not to go forward with this, then I'm fine to vote with that right now, because I did want information. We can wait. I don't think it's going to change my mind unless it's radically changed.
Okay.
I'm okay with the vote.
All right, Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we should accompany a letter for that, supporting our decision here on council.
I'll look to the clerk, but I don't believe the county's not really looking for anything. They're looking really for a yes or no, and that's kind of all they're looking for. So, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Worship, through to council. The county is just looking for the motion that council is passed, but as the recommendation already, or the motion already does include that a copy of the resolution be sent to the county, we always do that, put that into a resolution letter stating that council on this day made this decision.
Well, can I suggest that we do a recorded vote on this, please?
Sure, that's certainly a request. Okay. Any further comments or questions on the topic? All right, so you've all heard the motion. Everybody's okay with the wording of the motion? Okay. So Madam Clerk, I'll have you do a recorded vote on the
My
motion.
apologies, Your Worship. I didn't catch a mover and seconder for this motion.
Sorry, I may have not done that. So I've got Deputy Mayor Locks and I've got Councillor Meadows.
Your Worship, and starting with Councillor Meadows on the recorded vote on the motion to not consent to the County Council bylaw. Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against? Councillor Simpson, in favor or against? Deputy Mayor Locks, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor.
That's 7 in favor, 0 against.
All right, so that carries 7-0. All right, that was a very good conversation.
First.
That was the first recorded vote. We've had multiple unanimous votes. Yes, yes.
Right.
All right, so that was the correspondence. So we are on to bylaws. All right, first bylaw 16.1 is 2025-032, amend bylaw 0421, and that's regularly parking in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio. So that bylaw 2025-032 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 0421 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate the parking in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio be enacted. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? I have Councillor O'Leary and the second by Councillor Cox. Any questions on the bylaw? And all those in favor? And that is carried. 7-0.
We should have waited.
16.2 is bylaw 2025-033, 2025 final tax rates and ratio of levy bylaw. That bylaw 2025-033 being a bylaw to establish municipal rates and tax ratios for the year 2025 and to provide for the collection of interest and to repeal bylaw 2024-033 be enacted. And a mover, please. I have Councillor Simpson and a seconder, please. I have Deputy Mayor Laux. Any questions with regards to the tax ratio and tax rate bylaw? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. 16.3 is bylaw 2025-034, which is library service with agreement with the Clearview Public Library Board. That bylaw 2025-034 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a library services agreement with the Clearview Public Library Board be enacted. A mover, please. I have Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor Borzos. Any questions to this agreement? So you're Nancy, eh?
You're just too slow for it.
Okay. All those in favor? And that is carried. And while we're passing these bylaws, by the way, because we do have a lot, but there's two agreements here, Clearview and New Tecumseh, and I will encourage all residents that we do have these agreements. And if you do wish to utilize the services of either of these libraries, we also have one with the ESSA Public Library to do so, because these are great resources in our community and they provide a great resource for us without the actual need to build and maintain a library here. So 16.4 is bylaw 2025-035, library service agreement with the town of New Tecumseh. New Tecumseh Public Library Board. So the bylaw 2025-034 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a library services agreement with New Tecumseh Public Library Board be enacted. And a mover, please. I have Deputy Mayor Laux and a seconded by Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on to notices of motion 17.1. The notice of motion this evening is whereas the township has an obligation to provide safe drinking water and to keep residents informed of any potential health risks. And whereas the trihalamethylene levels in the Loretto-Weka drinking water system were observed at 101.3 UGL running annual average, exceeding the Ontario drinking water standard of 100 UGL by 1.3%. And the township was not notified with the statutory timeframe, within the statutory timeframe. And whereas since the exceedance, township staff in cooperation with Ontario Clean Water Agency have identified and assessed methods of mitigation and control of THM levels in the Loretto water system. Now, therefore, be resolved that an official notice of exceedance and information regarding the potential side effects of THM and the works completed to mitigate the potential for occurrence be included in the July 2025 water bills. And further, that the report with recommendations and next steps be posted to the township website no later than May 15th, 2025. And further, that anytime THM or any other contaminant levels exceed the Ontario drinking water standard, residents and council receive a notification of the exceedance within 10 business days through the township website, which will include the following information: recorded contaminant levels, sample numbers and dates, potential health implications, steps taken by the Ontario Clean Water Agency and the township to address the issue, including any precautionary measures residents should take, if any. And further, that Aqua, through township staff, submit a quarterly report on water quality, including THM levels, to be posted on the township website and circulated to council through email that include monthly readings when available, with sample dates, levels, and their correlation to Ontario drinking water standard guidelines. And further, that township staff, investigate and prepare a report to council on alternate water sources for all settlement areas, including but not limited to feasibility of connecting to the Georgian pipeline, cost estimates, and implementation timelines, summarizing findings in a detailed report presented to council by no later than August 31st, 2025. So Councillor Borzos, you made that motion. You wish to continue to put that on the floor?
I would like to, yes. And if I may, through the chair, just wanted to present an acknowledgement here to my colleague, Councillor Meadows, here for providing the framework for this one, and just to recognize the fact that the actual incident happened in his ward, and so I feel that this is a teamwork. It's not my motion by myself. It's a culmination of all what we were looking for in terms of water, and maybe this is just the first step in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay. If you'd like, I can get a second, or if you'd like, we can just discuss the topic as it's up to you, Councillor Borzos.
If colleagues have comments, by any means, please bring them forward.
All right, sounds good. So
That is procedural.
yeah, that's fine for that. Yeah. All right. Comments, questions? I have Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through this chair to the CAO. The timeframes provided, are they like adequate enough for staff? Like I know staff is definitely, they have a lot on their plate. So I want to make sure like one of them is tomorrow. So I just want to make sure that the timeframes are acceptable, or if there's any like adjustments that would be recommended, or this to be able to be done properly and effectively through our staff time.
Mr. CO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, the notification on the website and the date for the notification going out with the water bills is something that staff can do. With respect to reporting back to council, it would be preferential to have that either in the September council meeting or the October council meeting if that is the will of council.
Okay, Councillor Cox.
Supplementary, is there anything else within this motion that may be overbearing on the staff presently, given the current complement of staff?
Mr. CO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe that the current staff will be able to execute this as written. Again, the preference would be for the council meeting of September or October for the fulsome report back, which would give an opportunity for all the work that would be necessary to fully inform a council report.
Mike, can I propose a friendly motion that we adjust or amend the motion to adjust that timeframe to maybe, let's say, September 30th?
Sure, we can, we'll park that for now and come back to that question. Okay. All right, Councillor Simpson.
To the chair, I will note, just for the record, that I've had many residents reach out to me ever since our March meeting on Aqua regarding this issue and the need for posting these numbers online. I know we've had that discussion in the past, and I think this is a good motion that captures all of that. And I'd be in favor of seconding the motion if there isn't a seconder already. So.
I've got Deputy Mayor Laux and then Councillor Meadows.
Thank you, through the chair. So my biggest concern with this motion was CAO possibly said it was all right with the fact of putting all the information out in the water bills. Just for time-wise and staff-wise, that's not an issue at all, you believe?
Mr. CO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll put as many facts as we can in gathering with that time and put that out. Some of these things are fairly wide known. There is some data behind them, and I believe that depending on when the water bills go out, but for a July water bill, yes, I think that we can hit that particular time frame.
Okay, supplement. The other was that I believe so Aqua, have they stepped up from just a yearly report to quarterly after the incident? Is that?
So Mr. CO.
No, but like reporting, like to.
On the triathlenes or on the actual reporting?
THM.
These are two things that they've been doing. But I'll let the CO explain. So on the THMs first, maybe Chris, and then we can, if you want to talk about, I think it's already in the motion, but I think Aqua stepped up to also provide quarterly reports regardless of this motion or not. So if you'd like to just capture those two.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was redundant, but CAO can explain that, I guess.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the third-party drinking water, Aqua, has since provided our monthly reading in quarterly reports, but broken down with the monthly readings. They actually have weekly readings that they collect. And then again, it's summarized monthly and also summarized with the running annual average, which was within the motion put forward. It is the note of a running annual average, RAA. So all of those information and the breakdown of information, including their weekly samples, are all within those reports.
Can you just clarify as to what those, we've seen good results with those reports in? Could you clarify just for council as to where that's at?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to all of council and the public, the latest April monthly readings, the average is down to half. It's at 50 milligrams per liter, and the RRA, the running annual average, is down to 53 micrograms per liter. So again, it's well below the 100 micrograms per liter as previously read.
Okay. And I guess I'll just piggyback on that one comment as well. So the report's recommending, or the resolution is asking for quarterly reports, and I believe Aqua's already stepped up and will or can provide that with regards to those quarterly reports without the involvement of council resolution, I guess. So I just wanted to confirm that that's their goal is to do that.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Supplemental still?
Sure.
Carry on. And all these reports, they're easily accessible on the website, correct?
Through the mayor, we will be posting them as noted in the council resolution. If passed, then it will be posted on the website.
That'll be changing from, ideally, it was just yearly numbers that we were seeing.
We would be posting them as council votes on this. If it's passed, then that's what we'll be doing.
And one last aspect.
Yeah, and I just might add, they're going to be, I don't think staff are going to do it regardless if council passes the resolution tonight or not. If Aqua's providing us quarterly reports, we're going to be providing data.
Attainable.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
And just finally, if you may.
You may.
I may. The last part of the notice of motion is just slightly concerning to me, of looking for different sources of water, because if we do find a really good source of water, your township may grow substantially more than you want it to. Okay.
Maybe we get more votes at the county.
Well, then we'll get more votes. Anyways, that's all. I do believe we have, the staff has already looked out, but I guess they will look out once more for a different water source if available. All right, thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Meadows. Next.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. Yeah, this came to me, one of my concerning points was the fact that the trihalomethane levels jumped up to over 120 before anybody even recognized this issue was happening. That was the one thing that really bothered me. We're paying Aqua quite a bit of money as an organization to look after our water, and this fell through the cracks. Trihalomethanes are nothing to mess around with because they're cancer-causing problems within our water system. Now, this is where I have a bit of an issue as well. In Ontario, we're measured under 100 parts per million or whatever it is. UGLs, whatever you want. Micrograms. UGLs. Europe is under 30. Okay. Now, what about children? What's the acceptable rate for a child? That's an adult now that's taking in this 120. What's an acceptable rate for a child for trihalomethanes? And this is the problem I have. There is no constant for size for anything with regards to these. Now, we had problems with our water up in Newmarket when I was young, and there was a lot of cancer rates that shot up in my subdivision alone. I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm just trying to make things real. This is water. This is something they pay for. This is something our families are drinking on an annual basis. That's why I brought this up in the first place. And I was quite upset that it didn't go through. Very upset. We have to be cognitive of the emergencies that happen in this township, and we have to have the reserves and a secondary backup for things when they go wrong. And that's why the last portion of this is very important, to look into alternate water supplies for this township. If we're going to expand as a township, we're going to need these supplies because we don't have the infrastructure to support it right now. And Colgan's already looking to expand. You know, like you got developers knocking on your back door all the time. And we cannot go into this well if knowing there's problems. Loretto, I've already heard from in the past that there's a developer knocking on the door there as well. How can we sit here as a council, knowing that there's a problem with this particular well, to allow another subdivision to go in to put stress on that water supply if we don't know these levels and don't understand how to read these reports? Or I was surprised when I was told that this report came forward to the council and there was nothing wrong with it. And that was told to us, there's nothing wrong with the water. Yet there was a deficiency that was not put forward properly or recorded properly to this council, and we're making decisions. We're all responsible for the well-being of the people in this township. And we're the ones that go to jail, not the people at the township. We are, not Aqua, we are, because we make the decisions and they're giving us the wrong information. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I see your hand, Councillor O'Leary. I'm going to speak first and then I'll come to you. I do have some concerns with just how we report this information. We've sat here, we've had a discussion at the one regular council meeting. We had Aqua come back in and provide a detailed presentation and analysis of what's going on and how they're mitigating the concerns that council addressed to them. We've heard tonight as well that they're doing weekly testing and monthly recording of all of THM, particularly in the Loretto system, and we've seen a considerable decrease in that. So there are a couple things that are concerning, and the first thing, I want to be very clear that we do have an obligation as a council and as a township to provide safe, clean drinking water to everyone who is on a municipal service. And we do that. There was a running exceedance in the THMs in Loretto over a year ago. Knowing that information now doesn't really change the fact that this happened over a year ago. So I do respect the idea that residents need to be informed, but I would argue that the residents in Loretto need to be informed, because my concern here is reporting out that we have high THM levels in our municipal water system, which are generally in the water system anyways, because it's chlorine and natural. I'm thinking about the word. It's not natural. Organics in the water system. Thank you. Organic and chlorine mixing that promotes this THM. So all systems do have some of this in the system, and that's why it's reported to us in the annual report. So my concern is that we have 7 hamlets that have water systems, and we're going to send out a notice in the water bill to all these 7 hamlets. And the first thing anyone is going to do is pick up the phone and inundate this township with phone calls after phone calls after phone calls saying, what's wrong with my water? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the municipal drinking water in this township. And I have a concern that we are going to inundate our staff, we're going to inundate ourselves with these requests. And I'm all for providing as much information to the public as possible, but in the best way possible. And I have a fear that we put this out to the water users in their water bill, and we will have those phone calls. We will have those concerns. We will have a packed council chamber at the next council meeting saying, what is wrong? What's on fire? Where's the fire? And saying, what are you doing about it? And we've already addressed those issues. And so again, I don't want to put fear in anyone. I don't want to have that conversation of, you know, we're providing unsuitable water to our residents. We are providing clean, safe drinking water to our residents. And so I would caution, and I'm going to suggest to the mover and potentially seconder that we could remove that item. If we are providing this information on our website in any ways, we're providing that information there. The reports are going to be quarterly moving forward. We're looking at progress. We're not looking at the past. We're looking at progress. And if we're going to provide quarterly reports on our website, then I think we kind of satisfy the need to go all in on providing this in our water bills. So I would be looking to council to strike that section and that we not provide that in our water bills, because I think the harm it will do to a municipality outweighs the good. I do concur with the concept and to the CAO that potentially we could add the deadline to October 31st, 2025 for a staff report to come back. And then the last item, and the deputy mayor kind of hinted at this as to, and it's been talked about, finding alternate water supplies in the township is certainly something we could do. There is a desire to see some cross-border services between municipalities, and something that staff and myself could certainly investigate a bit further. We've already had some initial meetings on that topic, so we could certainly investigate that a bit more and submit a staff report to council on the need for that. Again, my concern comes back to kind of the development aspect. We know we have developers in the neighborhood looking to provide services. And we've sat here time and time again and said the developers should be paying for services. But if we preemptively go out and find an alternative water supply, then we're actually the ones that are actually now encouraging the development, encouraging the developers to come in using our services that we're now providing to the municipality. So I think it's kind of like a catch-22 here. We can certainly explore this opportunity, but we're talking about, like, you know, Everett being right now the size of 5,000, 5,000 people. Like, adding additional water services and other services to the municipality. Like, we could see, you know, we've talked about growth plans here to see a population in Everett of 10,000 people. We could see that go to 20 or 40,000 people in the next 10 years. In Loretto growing by another 5,000, and Colgan growing by another 10,000 by providing these services. So, you know, if that's the implication of going down this road and the willingness of council to see our township grow from 11,000 to 50,000 or 60,000 people within the next 20 years, that's going to be a legacy that we are going to leave behind as well. So I've had concerns. There's been concerns around the table as to what development we want to see. How do we control development? And looking at alternative water supplies is actually feeding into that development initiative. And I'm okay with getting that information back and seeing what the cost would be and things like that. But it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be knocking on our door next and saying, well, you got a suitable water supply here. We can do municipal sewage for you. And off you go. And we've quadrupled our population in the township in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. I'm not sure if that's the intent behind the proposal to do this. Like, I know we need to provide safe, clean drinking water, which we are doing now. So adding an alternative water source isn't going to provide cleaner and safer drinking water. It's going to provide the necessity for a developer to come and say, you've got capacity in your system. We're gonna grow and we're gonna intensify this township as much as we can. So I'm worried with the implications of how far this might lead us down a path of no return. So that's a concern that I do have. I'm okay with the, yeah, like I said, the two other amendments of trying to, if we want to strike the date out and put a different date for a staff report, if that's the case, if that's where we want to go. But as the motion stands right now, I can't support it for that reason of it. There's almost 3 or 4 different asks within a single motion. You know, if we were wanting to just provide data to our residents, then we could do one motion. You know, that's something that we're happy to do. But then when you tie in, we want to explore other options, and then you want to tie into that to explore how these things are reported to the township. Like, again, I don't want to find fault with a lot of this, but if we have a contaminant level, if we have E. coli in our water system, I'm not waiting 10 business days to get notified. I'm notified the next day. We have a boil water advisory on everyone's door. Like, this is how serious that is. Aqua gets an adverse contaminant result in the system and it's E. coli. Everyone on that system is boiling their water. Like, it is serious. So to say that we're going to have things posted out to council 10 days, like there's legislation that already permits and that restricts what you can do. And I'm looking at our staff. That's exactly what we do. We make sure that everyone has safe, clean, potable water. And I don't want to lose sight of that this motion doesn't do that. We have an obligation to all our residents to make sure that we do that, regardless of whether we post it online or not. We are making sure that that water is drinkable and safe for our community. So I'll leave those comments as they are there for now. As I said, I can't support the motion fully in this form. So I do have Councilor O'Leary, and then I can go back around the table if there's other comments or questions.
To the chair. My issue is when these tests were over 100. Was there additional, were the water mains swabbed within that period? Because that would bring all the organic matter up from the underside of the mains, and that would mix with the chlorine, therefore would increase your THMs. So, I mean, there's not enough information here. If they're down at 50 now, obviously, like, this is the spring of the year. You would think that if there's a lot of THM in the water, we would be getting it now because of the flooding, right? But I'm thinking that maybe there's something to do with Aqua should answer some questions as to when these mains were swabbed and things like that to verify that these results are what they are. Anyways, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Did Chris, do you want to offer any comment on that? Or I think they're monitoring, right? So.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, correct, they are monitoring. They did a chlorination, additional chlorination. So as noted, we will be putting up the corrective actions that they have done up on our website, and it would explain all of those with regard to the well, pump house number 1, number 2, and number 3 within Loretto Heights.
All right, so I saw several hands before, and I believe I saw Councillor Simpson. You had a comment or question again? That's what I'm looking at my list, and I was going to just kind of go around in the same order unless Councillor Cox, did you have any more questions or comments? Okay, so Councillor Simpson.
Okay. So I will note, just as a response to some of the items that you had brought forward, Mayor, you know, there was a fire. I think what residents want to know is, how did we fix that? And I think in terms of providing that notice, that's what they're looking to us to do, right? What did we do? How did we fix it? How are we going to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And this notice of motion shows what we did, how we fixed it, and how we're looking to fix it in the future and to prevent these kind of incidences from happening. Especially, you know, Aqua had an obligation to provide council with those updates. I know we get those updates periodically when there are issues that are identified. here's an issue that was identified, but we never got notice of it. And the hope is that if we're putting forward these quarterly reports, that we're notified and so are residents, right? The more eyes on a situation or on any potentiality, we can address it in a more proactive manner. So that's what the hope is with the notice. You know, and I respect your point on, you know, maybe not everybody needs to get a notice for all the drinking systems, but certainly I think if the notice identifies that, hey, it was in the WECA system that this issue occurred, I think residents are going to be understanding of that. I don't think anybody's going to be alarmed unduly. With regard to the contaminant levels, and you did mention the boil water advisory and things like that, I think the intent of the motion is that this is a floor. Legislation already takes precedence when it comes to other issues and other exceedances. So I don't think that that's, you know, the intent of this is just putting a floor, especially with regard to THMs. With regard, as the seconder, I guess I would note that I'm okay with changing the date from August to October or September, as the case may be. I will note that there is a need to understand what the costs are with connections. Doing these studies at this time doesn't obligate us or force our hand in terms of connecting to any one of these systems or anything of that sort. It just gives council an idea of what are the costs involved, right? We are seeing significant growth in Everett coming forward with 2,000 homes. And according to the reports and the populations that are anticipated, I believe it's about 6,000 to 8,000 people. That's what council has seen for the additional 2,000 homes. So with those kind of developments coming in place in our municipality, we have an opportunity right now where if we identify, hey, what does that cost to have this, you know, connect to that pipeline? And if that's going to provide safe drinking water, well, what does that cost? And that cost doesn't necessarily need to be borne by the municipality, but there's an opportunity that that cost can be passed along to the developer, because the developer is the one that's necessitating this increase in the level of service that our municipality is providing. So if we can pass those costs along to the developer, why shouldn't we, right? Should we, and this is where the argument comes in that, you know, we shouldn't work in a silo. We shouldn't work based on only what we see in front of us. I think council also needs to look forward at what are the opportunities that we can take advantage of to avoid those costs on our residents. So for those reasons, I think I would support it, except for changing that date to September or October. Thank you.
Yep. Mr. Meadows?
Yeah, this is where I have a bit of an issue, and it's with number one, when Aqua came here, they stated that they drilled a new well. Okay. 3 wells are feeding the water supply. 3 wells. 1 might be bad. 2 might be bad. The 3rd one might be okay. So you're getting an average out of 3 wells. I'd like to know what's going on with these 3 wells. That's where the one issue is. The other issue is with averages. Like we saw from the report, 1 month in April had 120 UGLs. The other one had 103, I believe. And then the other one had 89. So that's why the average dropped. I don't like using averages. Averages can skew the results. It shows that you have a problem during a certain month. And we can't pinpoint it because we got to ask the question, why? Why is it happening? So there's all sorts of issues around the way we're doing this and getting the information. And I believe there could be a problem. There might not be a problem. But to have the opportunity to source another water supply, if there is a problem, knowing the cost is going to benefit us in the end. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to look for a new water supply when I put my motion forward, was just to know what the costs are going to be. It wasn't to hook up or to build or anything like that. It was, if there's an emergency, what's it going to be? We have to be proactive in these matters. We can't sit back and wait for an accident to happen or a system to fail for us to jump on the bandwagon at last minute and we're making last minute decisions. That's not the way we're supposed to be doing business on this council. We're talking about all these reserves we have. Like, people, I mean, this is people's welfare. And that's more important to me than anything than sitting on this council is their welfare. There's nothing here I would change except maybe the date, because there's no way we can, the way it sits right now, it's unrealistic for the staff to bring that forward as a report. But the rest of it, I have no problem with. Thanks.
Councillor Borzos.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you through the chair to the council. I just wanted to sort of reflect on your comments regarding several different items rolled into one motion. I don't believe that for a moment this is all stemming from the same problem, and so therefore one builds on another. So I can't see this separating one thing from another. With respect to the other, or as final part with the what do you call this? The alternative water source, like Councillor Simpson pointed it out, just because we have the report, just because we have the information, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to actually expose that to any kind of developer or tell them, hey, come on over, we got like extra 5 billion gallons of water for you. We don't have to do that.
We do. We just come back to council in a public meeting. So that's what that's my fear.
Well,
right?
If they do, then I mean, I'm sure there are ways around it to figure out the proper next step, but this is simply for information, just to have an alternative. Because take Everett, for example. I mean, we have the aquifer there. How many more wells can they drill into the same aquifer to get that water? Anyhow, I think I respect your point regarding the dates and the council's comments regarding the dates. So October 31st is perfectly agreeable to me. And also just to sort of with the understanding of who needs to be notified, perhaps the section that deals with the information being provided to the residents with the water bills. At the end, we can perhaps put in there that July 2025 water bills for all residents on the WECA system. And so if that is possible, I don't know, I have to look to staff to find out if this is even possible to separate like Loretto residents, or how much of a work it is to separate the residents in Loretto and just insert the notices in their water bills as opposed to the entire township water users. But I would be open to change that to just Loretto residents. And that's all the comments I have. Thank you for anybody and everybody who commented on it, good or bad.
Well, I'll go to the treasurer then on the water bills as to whether or not we could separate just Loretto system for notification.
Through the chair to council, yes, staff have the ability to have the inserts for water bills for certain, just for Colgan or WECA.
Just like we would do for a boiled water.
So that'd be up to you whether you want to look at changing that.
I would like to, yes.
Okay. So I haven't taken the secondary yet on that. So if you'd like to change that on the fly, we can do that. So it'd be just for occurrence to be included in the July 2025 water bills for Loretto
or WECA. users or
Well,
Loretto?
it's the same system.
Yeah, so whichever verbiage you prefer. And then the date for the final report from August 31st to October 31st.
October?
I just wanted to identify, when this notice goes out, I think it's important that the notice also says, hey, look, this is what we've done to fix it. And so I think it's okay for that notice to go to everybody, just identifying that the issue was in the WECA system in Loretto, right? But also that it says, hey, look, you guys can go here to find more information, right? Because we're going to be putting it online. So that provides the notice to residents in terms of what they can do to be aware of, you know.
Forgive the conversation, but I don't disagree with you, but I think in this particular case, maybe a soft delivery to non-Loretto residents might be a better idea as opposed to put just.
Okay, it's your motion.
I do see the mayor's point on the possible confusion. Yeah.
Well, and without seeing, like, I know staff are going to draft up this notice if approved tonight. So it very well is going to be fairly clear that this is not an ongoing issue in all of our systems, but there is a chance for confusion. And I think that's where the issue, where it lies with me. And so I'm okay. So, and I appreciate that. So we're make that change, Madam Clerk. So it'd just be that, be included in the July 2025 water bills for Loretto. And then you were comfortable with the change of the date at the staff report come back no later than October 31st, 2025?
Yes, I would be.
Okay.
Is it reasonable?
And they very well, that's no later, so they could bring it back in September if they have it, yes. Okay, so you're comfortable with that, Councillor Borzos? Okay, so Councillor Simpson, are you still comfortable in seconding that motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, we've had thorough discussion on it, unless there's any other initial comment or other comments or questions. Okay. All right, so I'm prepared to call the question then. So all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, were there any other notices, motions that were presented tonight? Seeing none. So item 18 is new business. We have none. And 19 is the confirmation bylaw. So the bylaw 2025-036 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio at its regular council meeting held on May 14th, 2025 being acted. Do we have a mover, please? I have Councillor Cox, and I will second that motion tonight. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we are adjourned at 9:17 p.m. Thank you, Council. Enjoy the long weekend.